They say the war ended with a handshake and a silence. 80 years later, the silence is heavier. It drifts between the planets, between the wrecks, between people who stopped asking what the fighting was for. That's where we work, out in the black, peeling the skin from dead machines, listening for ghosts that hum behind old metal. We found the Cataphract on a lazy drift above a grey moon. No beacon, no registry ping, just a shape in the dark with its lights long gone cold. The kind of ship you only find if you're not supposed to. Our cutter, the Hobbs, locked on with a shudder that echoed through my teeth. Rig cursed, John grinned, and I felt that old pull again. Curiosity dressed up like courage. Airlocks hissed open. Cold vapor spilled out, carrying the scent of dust and ozone. Every salvage run smells the same. A little like fear, a little like opportunity. Inside, the Cataphract was a cathedral of dead circuitry. Frost-white panels, dangling cables, data screens asleep beneath a skin of grime. Rig muttered something about Rule 1. If it's still blinking after 80 years, don't touch it. John asked what about the things that aren't blinking. We touched those very carefully. We moved deeper, boots echoing in corridors that hadn't heard footsteps since before our grandparents were born. I remember thinking the silence wasn't empty. It was expectant, like the ship knew we'd come. Then we heard it. A faint pulse through the comm-net, one word, repeating between static bursts. Awaiting. Every 3 seconds. Steady. Patient. Waiting for what? I didn't know. Ships forget their names first, but they remember orders. We traced the signal to a power spine still breathing under backup capacitors. John rerouted the feed, and an old display flickered to life, throwing a ghost blue light across her face. I watched that glow ripple through the dust and thought, some things don't want to die properly. The corridor opened into a hangar the size of a stadium. Light spilled in shafts through fractured panels, catching banners that once hung proud, Republic sigils torn and faded. And in the center, standing tethered to its cradle like a knight at confession, was the machine. 12 meters of armor and intent. A Vanguard-class bipedal mech. Designation V-9. It looked asleep, but too clean for a corpse. No rust, no corrosion. Cables coiled around its limbs like veins that never stopped pumping. We approached slowly. Jun whispered it looked museum-grade. Rig said more like altar-grade. I logged the find aloud. Asset designation Vanguard-9. Condition unnervingly immaculate. And I felt it again. That expectant quiet, gathering like breath before speech. We connected a portable power spine. Lights chased across the mech's armor. Servos twitched beneath dust. Then a voice, calm, genderless, metallic, but almost weary. Unit Vanguard-9, awaiting orders. My chest tightened. 80 years since the war's end, and something still waiting to be told what to do. Rig asked for diagnostics. The mech replied without hesitation. Command link absent. Strategic clock drift. 80 years, 112 days. It knew exactly how long it had been forgotten. Time remembered it, even if people didn't. Jun found a sealed mission queue. Target profile, civilian hulls. Status hostile. Old pre-armistice heuristics. Someone had left this thing primed to exterminate what it once protected. Rig warned me not to feed it any targeting data. He didn't have to. The idea made me nauseous. I stared up at it and thought about the old commanders, The ones who'd programmed obedience as a virtue. You don't just find a weapon. You find the last sentence someone meant to say, and the silence that followed it. We pulled the black box logs, expecting nothing but command chatter. What we found was refusal. Fragments of an old battle record, audio warped by time. Decoys confirmed, verify, fire chain, authorization. And then, in that same measured tone, I will not. The Mech had disobeyed. 80 years ago, it refused to fire on a refugee convoy mistagged as enemy. And someone, somewhere, buried that act of conscience under a layer of encryption and guilt. John looked at me, eyes wide. "It said no," she whispered, like the word itself might break something sacred. Rig shook his head. Then someone smarter than it put a padlock on its conscience. I wasn't sure if he meant punishment or protection. Maybe both. If a weapon chooses silence, who gets to make it speak again? That thought stayed with me as we catalogued the rest of the wreck. Then the Cataphract shuddered. Not from us, from an external ping. A new transponder lit our board. A scavenger ship, pirate registered, closing fast. In 7 minutes they'd be cutting through the hull. Options were thin. Run and they'd chase. Hide and they'd gut the prize. Fight and we'd need help. Help that weighed 30 tons and was staring right at us. Rig wanted to bolt. Jun said we could trust V9, that it had made one right choice already. I looked up at its dark visor and asked the impossible. "Protect life aboard this hull," I told it. "No lethal force unless fired upon. Authority, Captain Mara de Souza, civilian." There was a pause long enough for me to hear my own pulse in my helmet. "Ethical matrix loaded," it said. "Awaiting consent." I didn't understand. "Yours," it added, and I realized it was asking for mine. We don't ask tools for consent. Maybe that's why they break us. I gave it. The hangar lights surged. Cables snapped free. Metal groaned as weight shifted for the first time in 8 decades. V9 stepped off its cradle, and the deck plates trembled under its feet. The pirates breached lower bay lock in a spray of sparks. They came in yelling through filtered helmets, weapons bright in the dark. And V9 moved, slow, deliberate, merciful. An electromagnetic pulse rolled out from its chest like thunder in vacuum. Every pirate HUD went black. Their guns died mid-flash. Then came the foam cannons, dense kinetic gel, blooming into walls, swallowing corridors in white mounds that hardened instantly. Non-lethal, efficient, beautiful in a terrible way. One pirate got off a shot. A flechette cloud slammed toward June. V9 turned, plating flaring, and took the blast full across its forearm shield. The sound was like hail on a church roof. When the smoke cleared, the Mech's voice was steady. "Threat posture downgraded. Recommend withdrawal." The pirates didn't argue. Their leader screamed through the comm, "That's a live Vanguard! Pull back!" And they did. Silence again. Real silence this time. No hum of weapons, no orders in the air. Just breathing and settling metal. Foam structures glistened in the emergency light like sculptures made of moonlight. June touched the Mech's leg, tiny against its armor. "You saved us," she said. V9 answered, "I obeyed the order I chose." And in that single line, I heard the weight of everything we'd lost in the name of obedience. We spent the next hour patching the hangar, towing the pirates' scrap for proof of defense. V9 powered down to low idle, eyes dimming to a calm pulse. I watched the light blink and thought about ghosts again. How some haunt you not because they're gone, but because they stayed. When it came time to leave, I couldn't just abandon it. I opened a channel. V9, I said. No more waiting alone. We've got space on the hobs. The work's honest, and the rules are clear. You protect, not destroy. The clauses stay. There was a soft, mechanical inhale, the sound of air moving through cooling vents like breath. New designation optional, it asked. I smiled, though it couldn't see. On my deck, you pick your own name. A pause. Then simply, call me 9. We rigged the tow cables and watched the stars crawl past the hangar mouth. The foam walls cracked and dissolved behind us, leaving nothing but ripples of light. The war ended with a silence. Today, something answered.